Welcome back to my YouTube channel. So we'll continue with the revision for the December 2024 mock. And today I'll do question 21. And if you're watching this video for the first time, please take a minute and subscribe to this channel. Also like the video and also give your comments on this video, whether the video is so useful to you, even as you prepare for your exams. Without much ado, let me do the question. So today I'll do question 21. And I'll read the question. Uzalendo Limited has a strategic plan for the next 5 years, commencing January 2025. The company is optimistic about the future and would like to prepare forecast financial statements from the year 2025. So the statement of profit or loss for the year 31st December 2024. We have revenue all the way to retained profit for the year. Then we have the growth rates. Then under additional information, number one, revenue growth rate will experience an increase of 2% from 2027 onwards. Number two, income tax expense is a margin of earning before tax, that is EBT. Number three, depreciation and amortization growth rate will increase to 2% from 2027 onwards. Number four, apart from the beginning of year 2025, interest expense will increase to 3% as a result of inflation. Number five, retention rate will remain the same throughout the forecast period. Yeah, the retention rate will remain the same throughout the forecast period. Required one, the forecast financial statements, 10 marks. Number two, common size statements, bracket vertical analysis for the financial statements, 5 marks. Number three, construct appropriate dashboards summarizing the following for the years under forecast. A, revenue. B, profit after tax. C is the gross profit margin. D is the income tax expense. Then D is dividend. Yes, I'll do the question. So I'll start with the forecast. The forecast statement. Forecast. Forecast financial statement here. Yeah, so the forecast was supposed to begin from year 2025 and it was a 5 years forecast. So it will end in 2029. So I'll start with 2025. And then from 2029, I'll go to series just to fill, because I told you this paper is all about speed and being accurate. So I'll go to series. It's within the row, it's a linear. Then trend, my step value will be 1, but it will end in 2029. So just say okay. So once I say okay, the values will be there. So I'll create the bottom border for that. Sorry, I'll go to home, then create the bottom border. And the shillings are in thousands. That. Sorry, not yet copied. So I'll copy this twice. Then I can now drag. Yeah, so the shillings were in thousands. So I'll also copy this information, revenue all the way to return profit for the year. So Control C, come there and Control V to paste. And then I'll extend this row. I'll increase the size of that row. Yeah, so I'll start with revenue. So revenue, we are told, and additional information number one is that revenue growth rate will experience an increase of 2% from 2027 onward. So it means that from 2025 and 2026, I'll use the growth rate which is provided on the information. So I'll take this value, then I'll multiply by bracket 1 plus the growth rate. Yeah, because this growth rate will be only for the 2 years, 25 and 2026. So there will be no need of locking it. So I'll just enter. Then for the second year also, I'll do the same. Multiply that bracket 1 plus the growth rate, which is 4%. And I'll not lock it because it ends there. Yeah, so up to 2026. So we are told that revenue growth rate will experience an increase of 2% from 2027 onwards. So by experience an increase of 2%, it was 4% in 2026, but now coming to 2027, it will increase. It will experience an increase of 2%. So it will means that it will move from 4% to 6%. Yeah, that's what the additional information say. So you move from 4% to, you add 2, you get 6%. Yeah. So you don't use 6% because that means that it will decrease, yeah, to 2%. So it is an increase of 2%. So you take 4%, which was initially the growth rate, you add to 2%. So what we'll use now moving forward from 2027 is 6%. Yeah. So from 2027, the growth rate will be 6%. So I'll just come here and say equals to, pick that, then you multiply by bracket 1 plus the growth rate, which is 6%. But because it's going to be constant all through, so I'll lock it because it doesn't change along the way. So I'll lock it by creating a dollar sign before and after the column. Before and after the column, then I close. So once you are done with that, you just drag. So when you drag, the values will appear automatically. Then we go to cost of sales. Yeah, was there any additional information touching on the cost of sales? No. So for cost of sales, just say equals to, pick that value, multiply by bracket 1 plus the growth rate, which is 3%, and lock it because it's constant all through. Lock it completely, the growth rate. Yeah, then you close the bracket, then you enter. Then let me see if I drag, it will copy. No, it will not copy. So I'll have to do it twice for the second year. I'll now pick this. And I multiply by bracket 1 plus the growth rate. And that growth rate is that one. So I'll create a dollar sign before and after. Create a dollar sign before and after. So once I've entered that, I'll drag. Yeah, so once you drag, it will give you the values automatically because you have copied correctly. Therefore, the gross profit will now be revenue minus cost of sales. So because already cost of sales is negative, I'll sum revenue and cost of sales. So I just highlight that. Then you go to arrow, the auto sum, sorry. Then you just sum. Yeah, so you get that value as 2491. 2941, sorry. Then you drag. Yeah, when you drag, you will get all those values. So I'll go to the next item. It is administrative expenses. And to check whether there was any additional information touching on administrative expenses. There was none. Yeah, so you just say equals to, pick that value. Yeah, pick that value. You multiply by bracket 1 plus the growth rate, which is 1.5. So I'll lock it completely. Give it a lock completely. Enter. Then for the second one, I'll now pick this. Multiply by bracket 1 plus the growth rate, which is 1.50. So I'll also lock it. I'll lock that. So lock that. So once you are done with that, when you have done the two, then you just drag. The others will appear automatically. Once you have locked completely and you have locked the growth rates correctly, yeah. So you won't have a problem with those other values. So when it comes to distribution cost, there's no additional information on distribution. So distribution cost, we'll have that times bracket 1 plus 1.25%. So I'll lock it also completely, yeah, because there was no change along the forecast period. So I'll lock it also and enter. So once I enter that, I'll also do the same for the second year. I'll pick that, then I'll multiply by bracket 1 plus the growth rate, which is under distribution was 1.25. So I'll also lock it completely. I'll lock it completely. Enter. So once I've entered that, I just drag, and those other values will appear automatically. So we have earning before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization, and that will now be the sum from gross profit all the way to distribution cost. So I'll just highlight that. Then I go to home, then I go to sum, then I go to auto sum, earning before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization. So I'll put that, and then I'll go to depreciation and amortization. And before I do that, I'll check whether there was any information. So when you go to additional information number 3, depreciation and amortization growth rate will increase to 2% from 2027 onwards. Yeah, so let's start again. So I'll say equals to the depreciation was that. So I'll multiply by bracket 1 plus the growth rate, yeah, and enter. Then for the second year, I'll do the same. Say I'll pick that, multiply by bracket 1 plus that growth rate, close the bracket, then I enter. And I was told that from 2027, the growth rate, depreciation and amortization growth rate will increase to 2%. Yeah, it will not increase by, or it will not be an increase of, but it will increase to 2%. So it means that it will move from 1.5% to 2%. Yeah, you have to understand the language. Yeah, you have to understand the language. So from 2027, we now use 2% instead of 1.5%. So just come here, say equals 2. Pick that, you multiply by bracket 1 plus 2%, but now I love to lock it because it will be constant all through. So you lock that growth rate of 2% completely. You lock it completely. You lock it completely. And enter. So once you have that value, you just drag. Those other values will appear automatically. So earning before interest and tax will now be the sum of earning before interest, tax, depreciation and amortization plus depreciation and amortization. So I'll just sum those two. Then I just go to auto sum, then I sum, then I'll have that value. So once you have that value there, just drag it. Then you come to interest expense. So I'll check whether there was additional information on interest. So additional information number 4, they're saying apart from the beginning of year 2025, interest expense will increase to 3% as a result of inflation. Yeah. So it will increase to 3%, not by 3%. If it was by, then we'll add 2% plus 3%. Now that will be 5, but it will increase to 3%. So let me just put 3% here. Yeah, but we are told that apart from year 2025. So it means that for 2025, the interest expense will be 2%. We'll use the 2% as the forecast. Yeah, so we'll take that. Then we multiply by bracket 1 plus the growth rate, which is 2% for 2025. Yeah, that's the only year that we had a growth rate of 2%. So we are told apart from beginning of year 2025, the interest expense will increase to 3% as a result of inflation. So it means that from 2026 to 2029, we'll now use 3%. So you just say equals to, you pick that value times bracket 1 plus the growth rate, which is now 3%. So I'll lock that 3% completely because it will be constant all through. It will be constant all through. So I'll lock it and close the bracket. Lock it and close the bracket. So from there I can just drag because I've locked it completely. Therefore, earning before tax will be the sum of earning before interest and tax and interest expense. So I'll just sum this to, reason being the interest expense is already negative. If it was positive, then you subtract. Yeah, so once you get that value, you just drag. So allow me to bold that. Okay, so income tax expense, there's an information on income tax expense. We're told that number 2, income tax expense is a margin of earning before tax. So how will we know? So we'll use the information provided to get the margin. So if income tax is a margin of earning before tax, then it means that income tax, we say equals to income tax, you divide by, allow me to change this into positive, because I want that tax rate to be positive. So income tax will be, you take the income tax, you divide by the earning before tax, so that we get the rate. Yeah, let me say yes, sorry. So say equals to, but let me say negative, that to change that income tax into positive so that I can divide it by earning before tax because it's a margin. Yeah, so it's 0.25%. So when you change that into percentage, because that margin should be in percentage, the percentage rate, the income tax rate. So just come here and change it into percentage. So income tax was 25%. So when now you come here to income tax, now it will be equals to 25%. Yeah. So I'd say negative 25% because I want the income tax to be negative. Multiply by the earning before tax. Yeah. So I'll lock this income tax rate completely because it's constant all through the forecast period. Yeah. So I'll lock it and enter. So once I enter that, I'll just drag. Yeah. Those are the values will multiply automatically. So I'll drag those two, I'll auto sum. So I'll go to home, then auto sum, then I'll get 1788. So that one, you just drag the same way. Then allow me to bold it. So I'll bold it. Yeah, so the next item is dividend paid. Is there any information on dividend? No, there's no information on dividend. But we are told under additional information number 5, that retention rate will remain the same throughout the forecast period. So we'll check the retention rate here. What was the retention rate. So what does this mean? So it means that we'll take the retained profit for the year, we divide by the net profit so that we know the percentage of retained earnings. Yeah, so that the difference is what will give us the dividend. So the retained profit will be 0.599. So let me change it into percentage. Yeah, percentage give us 59.9. Yes, so let me see if I can reduce I can decrease the decimal. Let's see. It's not changing, but it's okay. It's okay. Let me see if we can change it because I think it's supposed to be 60%. Sorry. Sorry. I was using the wrong. Let me decrease the decimals. Yeah, you can see now it's giving me 60%. Yeah. So that 60% is the retention rate. So it means that the retained profit for the year should be 60% of the net profit. Yeah, so that's what we mean by the retention rate. So it was maintained at 60%. So you just take that 60%, you multiply by the net profit. And because the retained profit was constant all through, so unlock it completely, unlock the rate of 60% completely by introducing the dollar sign before and after the column. Then I just enter. So once I enter that, I just drag. Yeah, so that when I drag, even when you click this one for 2029, it will give me F18 times P17. P17 is this value here. Yeah, now that we have the retained profit for the year, now we can be able to get the dividend paid. Yeah, that's all about forecasting. Yeah, so we will be able to, what is remaining is the dividend paid. So already we have net profit and we have the retained profit. So what will be the dividend paid? So the dividend paid is the difference. So because dividend paid is negative, you just say equals to, you pick that retained profit for the year, you subtract the net profit. Yeah, then you get the dividend. So in other words, when you take 1788.15, you add negative 715.47, you will get 1072.68. Yeah, that's the logic. Then you just drag, and those other values will appear automatically. And by that, you will score yourself 10 marks. Yeah, by that, you score yourself 10 marks. Yeah, so that's how you are supposed to forecast that statement. And you introduced a top border and a double bottom double border to that. Yeah, so with that we are done with the forecast financial statements. Yeah, so everything has been captured. So the secret in forecasting financial statement is that you have to understand the additional information. Like if they are told that there's an increase of 2%, then it means that from the original growth rate, you add that 2%. If you're told there's an increase to 2%, then it means you abandon the previous one. Then you move, now you use the 2% moving forward. Yeah, so it's just your understanding of the English language. To or by. Yeah, you just have to get the difference. That's what the examiner tests when it comes to forecasting. So I'll go to additional information number, required 2 is that the common size statements in bracket vertical analysis for the financial statement. Yeah, so this one is a statement of profit or loss. So the only thing I can do, and it's a single statement, so the only thing that I can do here, I can only do the common size statement, and that is vertical analysis. So common size statements, and that is vertical analysis. So I'll bold that. And then I'll have the years 2025 all the way to 2029. Yeah, those are the years that I'll have to do what we call the common size statement analysis, and it's supposed to be vertical. Yeah, so the first thing I'll do, I'll copy this information, Control C, I'll also come here and Control V just to copy. Okay, so I'll start with the revenue. So you know that when you're doing vertical analysis, the base or the benchmark is always the revenue. Yeah, you use everything, you use revenue as the base when you are analyzing the statement of profit or loss. Yeah, well, if it was a statement of financial position and you are doing the vertical analysis, the base will always be the total assets. So that's the only thing you have to know. So in this case, we are dealing with the statement of profit or loss. So our base in this case will be the revenue. Yeah, so you just start to, you say equals to revenue, that you divide by revenue, because revenue is the base. Yeah, and because the revenue is the base, so it will be constant all through. So you lock that base of revenue. So you introduce the dollar sign before and after, before and after, and you enter. So it will give you 100% because you just divide revenue with revenue. So what you do there, from there now, you just drag all the way up to retained profit for the year. And you can see it will give you different values, so that when you click cost of sales, you'll realize that it will give you L7, you divide by locked L6. Yeah, so L7 is this value here. Yeah, so the cost of sales here, you have just divided by this revenue. Yeah, so that's how you do it. So for 2025 is that. So I'll go to 2026, you do the same. You take the revenue for 2026, you divide by the base, which is the revenue for that year, which is 2026. And because that revenue for 2026 will be constant, I'll lock it completely. So once you lock it completely, you enter. So once you enter that, you just drag all the way down. Yeah, and those are the values, appears automatically. The same will apply to the next year, which is 2027. Take that, you divide by that value, but you lock the base completely. So you will just say dollar sign before and after, then you enter. So once you enter, you'll always get 1, then you drag it all the way to retained profit. Okay, we continue. Then you go to 2028, you pick that, you divide by the same revenue, but you lock that revenue because it will be constant all through. You enter, then you drag all the way down. Then the last one, the same way, you follow the procedure. You take the revenue for 2029, you divide by the revenue for 2029. And because the revenue is the base, you lock the base, the one that you divide it with. So you lock with the dollar sign, shift dollar sign, then after also dollar sign, then you enter. So once you enter, you love that. So you just drag. So once you drag that way, yeah, common size statement, you can leave it this form, no one will penalize you, but I prefer that you change all this into percentage, because the common size statement analysis is always a percentage of revenue, vertical. Yeah, so you change this into percentage. So you highlight that, then you go to home, then you go to general, then you look where the percentage is. Yeah, so everything now is in percentage. Yeah, so you can see now the gross profit is 45.32%, of revenue. Distribution is 4.31% of revenue. Yeah, so it's a margin of revenue. That's all about common size statement. And please read more about common size statement and ratio analysis. Yeah, they might test it in your paper this week. Yeah, so do more about vertical, horizontal analysis, also known as trend analysis, and the ratios. Yeah, know the ratios. Know the ratios. Okay, so that's how you are supposed to do part 2 of that question. So I'll go to part 3, where we are told to construct appropriate dashboard, summarizing the following for the years under forecast. So I'll say construction of dashboard. Yeah, there's no BDA paper that will be tested without a dashboard. Yeah, so you have to know how to construct dashboards, the graphs. Construct dashboards. Yeah, so I'll pick the years here. So I'll start with 2025, just copy, because I told this paper is all about time. And when you know how to copy, paste, and move faster, you'll be more accurate and finish the paper on time. Yeah, and you pass on your first attempt. So I'll start with revenue. Yeah, so this revenue is based on the information up there. Yeah, don't use the information for common size statements, please. Yeah, so revenue is this. So just copy. Just copy. Then you select. Then the next item is profit after tax. This is the profit after tax, earning before tax, income tax. That's the net profit, yeah? So I'll take the net profit. I'll just copy it the way it is. Then pick the values there. Yeah, don't pick the values of the common size analysis here. We don't need that. Huh? Then the next item will be gross profit margin. So this one I'll have to calculate gross profit margin. So this margin, I'll just say equals to the gross profit, which is here, divide by the revenue, because it's a margin of revenue. Then you enter. So once you enter that, I can see it's giving me 0.4532. Yeah, in fact, it's what we have here, yeah, the 45.32%. Yeah, so you can alternatively you can just pick those values there, but I don't want the values in percentage. Yeah, that's why I've decided to divide directly. Yeah, the profit margin. You can see the last one is 50.32. This is also 50.32. So after that, we'll have the income tax expense. So income tax, that's the income tax, yeah. So you just select it. And because the income tax was negative, so I want them to be in positive. So just equals to, then you introduce a negative sign to change the income tax into positive. So once you change it into positive, you just drag. Then we have dividend. Yeah, so that's the dividend paid. That's the dividend paid. Yeah, that's what they're asking for. So the dividend paid, I also want it to be positive. Yeah, so we say equals to, then you put a negative sign before, then you select the dividend paid. Once you select the first one, you just drag. Yeah, all those others will change to positive. Yeah, so once you are done with that, now your work is easier. Yeah, you just select this. Yeah, just select everything. Then you go to insert. Then you go to recommended. Yeah, there are so many charts. Yeah, you can choose any, whether this, or this item here. Yeah, so for me, I'll go with the clustered column. Huh? Yeah, so clustered column, and say okay. Then let me undo. So I'll go to insert, recommended. Then I'll go to clustered. column, then say okay. Then the chart title, just say dashboard presentation. Yeah, because I don't want to write everything like revenue, profit. Let me just say dashboard presentation, because the examiners, they already know what they required of you. Dashboard representation. So, representation. So once you are done with that, you just drag it down here. Yeah? You know that. Then you can click. You click on the sides, yeah, so that somebody can read. Yeah, you can see now revenue is blue, net profit is orange, then gross profit margin is gray, then income tax is yellow, then dividend paid is dark blue. Yeah, this revenue was light blue. Yeah, was light blue. Yeah, so we can be able to interpret that in 2025 the revenue was higher, the net profit was following it, then the gross profit margin, the margin is lower. Yeah, the margin is supposed to be lower. Then lastly, the income tax was also almost close to dividend. So it means that dividend paid all through was more than the income tax paid. Yeah, and you cannot go back to the question and be able to see how much dividend was paid. Yeah, we paid 715, but income tax for that year was low of 596. Yeah, so you can even a layman can now be able to analyze. A shareholder who is not an accountant can be able to analyze this presentation. Yeah, so that's what was required of you, and you scored clean 20 marks for this. Yeah. Yeah, this is an area that they like testing. So I've told you that do more on forecasting and ratio analysis, common size statements and ratio analysis. Because don't be surprised if you meet this paper on Friday, if you meet such questions on Friday. So thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye bye, and take a minute and subscribe to this channel. Let the channel grow, share, comment, and like the video so that we can get to 1,000 subscribers. Thank you so much for those who have subscribed already, and for those who are promoting us, and for those who are giving refer. Thank you so much. So our January intake is ongoing. You can reach me through my number on bio so that I can add you to the WhatsApp group for the January intake, so that we can start early, so that I prepare you well in time, so that you can pass this paper even on your first, second, or third attempt. I can assure you that this is where we belong, and this is where business data analytics is taught in a way, in a simplified way that any student can be able to understand. So thank you so much, and have a blessed day wherever you are, wherever you are, whether it's morning, evening, or in the afternoon. Thank you so much. Bye bye. Adios.